Yes, actually, Mr. Troupas, let's talk about this EL 122 because I am having a hard time. I think that a lot of voters in the state of Wisconsin use this form, and I'm certain that your client, President Trump, believes that many, many people in Dane and Milwaukee counties, the two counties where you are seeking to disenfranchise hundreds of thousands of voters, use this form. And I'm looking on the form right now, and it's a very detailed form. It talks about the date of the election in the county, the voter's name, the street address. It asks for a certification of a voter, a certification of a witness, a certification of an assistant. And again, the form itself says application on the top of it. Are you telling me that voters who get this form and fill it out are somehow committing fraud or doing something that is illegal?
They're not complying with the statute. That's correct.
Because that statute specifically says that there have to be two separate forms. I don't see that in the statute. Point that out to me, please.
Sure. Let's go to those statutory provisions. One moment, please.
Yes, as a follow-up to that, Attorney Troupas, I'd like you to show me the word separate. If you can tell me, I've read the statute a number of times. I'm having a hard time seeing it. If you can point out where that word separate is.
It doesn't appear in the statute.
So nowhere in the statute is the word separate, that you need a separate application?
I don't think it's the statute that you're referring to.
So how then are these voters not complying with the statute?
Pardon me. Where did I just put my notes? Well, to begin with, the statute provides that in 6.86 AR, that in fact, and I'm quoting, the clerk shall not issue a ballot unless he receives a written application. Now, when we deal with in-person voting, if you look at that same section.
Troupas, I'm going to stop you right there. The form I'm looking at, do you have a copy of EL 122 with you?
Oh, yes, I do.
Okay. And can you look at the very, very top of it? There's a box at the top.
Yes.
Okay, what does it say?
Well, if you're referring to the official absentee ballot application certification, yes. I think I know what that
Just because you say it super fast doesn't mean that the word application, APPLICATION, doesn't exist at the top of that form.
I didn't. I apologize if I spoke too quickly. Let's focus for a minute on the actual certification below, for example, where it says, I further certify that I requested this ballot. And let's also, which of course they haven't requested it, the application has yet to be returned. Let's consider secondly, the sequence in which this occurs. The application has to be received before a ballot is provided. Otherwise it has no meaning. Or if you want to read out of the statute, the provision that has the clerk compare the application under 6.86 to the ID being presented. Obviously, they can't do that. They have nothing unless you're saying somehow it's the same form. Or let's read out of the statute that an application is specifically designated separate from the certification in the statute. You also have to read out of this that the application is kept by the clerks under 6.861. But the ballot envelopes are sent to the county. The only way you can read those statutes consistently is for there to be a separate application and a separate envelope. And the WEC has acknowledged this over and over in their own materials over the years. Of course, they change them at will, so that isn't unexpected. So, for example, they point out in EL 103, which is cited in the briefs, that these applications and envelopes are to be treated differently. One is kept at the county, at the municipality. One is sent to the county. In the recount manual, they specifically cite, they discuss applications and certifications separately because they are separate. They would be no meaningless otherwise. Then when they discuss the recount, the WEC again discusses them separately, and it never mentions this EL 122. They've come up with this argument after the fact. Their own manuals don't even support the proposition they're trying to make. Moreover, why would there be a WEC form 12221, an application? That actually is an application used throughout the state. You can apply other ways, but it's used throughout the state. And what does it have in the upper right-hand corner? It has check this box if you're voting in person. Finally, look at the record here. The record is that elsewhere, outside of Dane and Milwaukee County, they get applications.
Okay, Mr.